What's next after that? Okay.
Oh, no, it's this.
So the way I should do this is, if I remember.
So Canada has laws in place.
Yeah.
Guys, fill up the whole row, please. Welcome everybody to our last but wonderful Social Justice Week Great Assembly. Today we have some individuals with us from the Mapping Memories Project. You'll be hearing stories about tolerance, belonging, culture, identity, personal resilience, and I don't know, just keep these words in mind as you contemplate what it means to be a refugee. So without further ado, here are their stories.
So my story is about how I first heard about this genocide. I was 13. Is anyone, how old are you guys? Are you guys? 14? You're 14. So I'm sitting there in class and my teacher talks about all of the genocides. So the one during World War II, and then he mentions one in Rwanda and points me out and says, you come from a country where genocide happened. And I was like, how come I don't know that? And he went on and told me that Hutus had killed Tutsis. So I didn't know what I was from, what group I was in, and how come my family had never told me about it. So ever since I was 13, I haven't stopped asking questions. I interviewed my family and discovered when I was old enough, when they were ready to tell me what had happened and why I was a refugee in the first place, why I had to flee my country. The president of Rwanda once suggested in one of his speeches that the Tutsis should put their memories and pains in a box, lock it and put it away, move on, look forward, and focus on the future. Is this the answer? Is there a way to connect the past to the present? Without your past, who are you? And does it matter if anyone knows? My family has tried to protect me from their story, especially my sister Solange, who has always been my protector. We were born to the same mother and father, who are from Kibuye, the capital of Western Province of Rwanda. But my life story is so different from my sister's. To begin with, we're 15 years apart.
I'm from Montreal, and my parents were from Sri Lanka, so I could kind of relate to how she felt like having a different identity.
When they were talking about the Rwanda and everything and the refugees, it sort of reminded me about my grandma and just how she had to go through it and how I think she was also a refugee, so that's why I could somehow relate to it.
Okay, so everyone has a story and we have different stories. That was Stephanie's story, and my story starts at the age of 8. I was a little younger than you. I was born in a normal family with 3 sisters and 2 brothers. And one night, everything changed. That was genocide of Rwanda. Someone came running and told us that our tribe is being killed. And our father told us to leave the home and find the way to escape. My mother prepares something to eat. My brother and I are sitting outside. The rest of my family, my father, mother, sister, and brother are inside. A lady comes running towards us. She seems crazy. She tells us that they are killing people. We start running. I follow my brother. We go into woods. We stay there for hours. Then we move to another forest and we find our father. But he tells us to leave. It is not safe. At the beginning, it wasn't easy to tell a story. I had many stories in mind. I wanted to tell other people's stories, not my story. But after I started Once Upon a Time, there was a little girl. If she wasn't alive, who could tell this story? Who could remember her family? I want people to know that everyone has a story and each story is important.
All right, keep your hands up. Keep your hands up because there are some of you who are not part of those two categories. How many of you have grandparents from another country? All right, you see? All right. Okay. Now, okay, you can put your hands down. Thank you very much. So because of that political situation in Zimbabwe, my family decided to send me to Canada as a refugee. I was actually not much older than you guys. I was only 18 years old. Yeah, so that was about 10 or so years ago. So I wanted to find a way to tell my story as well, to educate all of you guys, you young guys, because not a lot of you know what a refugee is or have actually ever met one.
I will focus on my journey, beginning with my arrival at the YUL with nothing but one piece of luggage, a ton of hope, a smile, and the belief that one day from the seed of little worldly possessions, I will reap success, love, and a sense of belonging. But before reaching this light at the end of the tunnel, I would first have to endure humiliating treatment at the hands of the airport immigration officers who practiced police-like authority, taking mugshots and detaining me in an empty room fit for a criminal. And after 13 hours of waiting, I would eventually be released at 2 a.m. and left to find my way into the new world. Welcome to Canada.
Have you seen your family again?
No, I haven't seen my family in 10 years. Yeah. It's tough, isn't it?
You haven't spoken to them?
I've spoken to them. You know, at least we got calling cards and all that good.
Nobody wants to be a refugee. You know, it's not a choice. When you haven't seen your family for 11 years, then somebody has to understand that no one wants to be in that situation.
To give you guys a bit of a biography of myself, I also go to Concordia University. I should have mentioned that actually.
Even today, your presenters were asking how many refugees are here. Just a couple of them raised their hand, but I know for a fact that there are many, if not themselves, their parents. People should not be ashamed from where they came from. And it's only through stories and presentations like this that we can allow these students to realize that who we are is what makes this world a better place.
When I'm teaching those kids, for them, at least right now, for a 13, 14-year-old is, hey, you see that kid over there? That kid looks out of place. Maybe just go and say hi. Because people did that for me as well. Any success I've had is because of other people who've opened their arms and their hearts and their homes to me.
I will take any answer.
I thought it was really cool that they were like actually there and you weren't just showing a video, so you could ask them questions about what happened to them and how they overcame it and like anything you want to know. It was really like I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know before.
The biggest part is always questions, because you don't know what they will ask you. Sometimes there are some questions that you cannot answer because they are political, they can bring you somewhere else. He's asking how do you distinguish the two tribes, because we are Tutsis and Hutus, but we had identity cards. So in the IDs you could see this one is a Hutu, this one is a Tutsi.
At the same time, I understand that it's a question that would come up, since it's the reason why the genocide happened. But 18 years after the genocide, today, it's something that we're trying to not have anymore, destroy. It doesn't exist. We're all the same. We're all Rwandans. We're all Africans. We're all humans at the end of the day. And I feel like that's really important for them to know.
I expected that this presentation there would be crying, or that there would be like, you know, that they'd be really sad about it and be very serious. But the way that they treated it in the angle that, you know, life goes on after this happens, I find that's what makes the difference between a person who can't acknowledge their past and who keeps it up inside, and someone who can come out and make the world a better place with it.
For me, the message is, well, number one, everyone has a story. Number two is letting them know that we are all from somewhere. And number three, it is also to teach them to open their arms wide, open their hearts, and welcome people in a new land or in a new place.